Hey everyone, welcome back to Island Life Cabin Build. This is episode number 8. Apologize for the wait, a lot's been going on, but here to update you thus far. So in this video, we're going to be continuing along with what Clayton had been working on in the last video, which was the ridge beam. The difference here is I'm back on the island! Hooray! I came up to join him after my field work was finished, and we actually had another special guest. His dad came up to help with the roof sections because we all know I'm afraid of heights and I'm not much help up there. So in this video we're going to be building again up on the ridge beam. We're working more along the skeleton of the roof. So that means trusses and gable ends as well as ladders, which we'll get into what they are and how he did it as the video goes on. Clayton actually took some time off. He took his dad out on the barge for a fish. His dad was pretty successful, and he also took off some time to celebrate my birthday. I wanted to update you about the difference of our kitchen compared to regular camping. So in regular camping, as you know, you plan your meals out, you got a cooler, you chuck some ice in there, it's good to go, right? Whether it's for the week or a weekend. The problem with us is that we're up there for months on end. And we don't have that much access to a grocery store to get ice or actually new food, so we had to think of a solution to solve that problem. We have just a table, foldable table brought over. We have 2 cooking stoves. We have this one, which we use as just like for boiling and frying and that sort of thing, a regular stove. One of the key things we have is a kettle. We use it for washing dishes and the like, and creating hot water for coffee. And then we also have a grill. We have it attached. I have a regular here attached to us. Instead of the little green ones, we have a barbecue hose, which actually has a split. So here's our barbecue propane tank, and we have a split here which you can buy, and one tube goes into the camp grill and one goes into the camp stove. So we only need one barbecue thing to supply them, and these are both really efficient machines or equipment, so we haven't had to replace that propane too often. Maybe once or twice this whole summer, which is pretty good. Here we have a hole that I burnt in the side of the tent, because obviously it's above the grill. Make sure when there's a fire from grease or whatever, you put it out with baking soda and not with water, because water creates steam, which is very hot and melts our tent here. We also use this laundry bin, which we found is super helpful to hold our dishes, our clean dishes. We find it helpful because it has holes in the side, so when it rains it doesn't fill up with water, and things can get wet in there obviously, but doesn't hold the water and become stinky, etc. And then we have 2 bins back here for dirty dishes. We just fill hot water and some cold water, mix it up, and do dishes like usual. Our recent purchases was our unique freezer, which is a propane freezer. We were trying to work out our problems around getting ice all the time. We had coolers, but as the temperature got hotter, it became a little bit more difficult to manage our food not going bad. So we purchased an off-grid freezer from Costco. It was delivered to our house, so it was great. Here's our unique freezer. As you can see, it has the level on and off of the flame. It's AC or DC, and then over here is our propane. So ignition, cold, warm, temperature, and if it's DC, you just turn this on. So running off a propane thing right now. It's lasted about 2 weeks, with opening and closing it pretty often during the day. So you see, we're using these water jugs for the coolers for our things for our fridge. So that's been working out really great. Another problem we had to overcome was we didn't have an oven, and I love to bake, so we bought ourselves a Dutch oven. So I'm going to show you how I rigged it up to work on a stove instead of in a fire. I put together some peanut butter chocolate chip cookies from the back of the peanut butter jar. I'm going to show you how I'm going to use my Dutch oven. So I have this 8.5-inch cake pan, which I got from the grocery store, and it fits right into the bottom of the Dutch oven. So there's a little bit of a gap at the bottom, that's okay. Just helps it not burn as much. And then I'm going to put the peanut butter cookies in here. So they can only do like 6 to 9 at a time. Probably more like 6, but just slow going. Makes them taste better. Okie dokie. So I have put the peanut butter dough in there. And then I have kept the heat on quite low, because if you heat up fast, it'll burn no matter what. It takes probably 3 times as long as a regular oven, so just keep checking it and we'll see how they come out. Not too bad. We had a few fall apart, but I think it did pretty good. It's my first time making peanut butter cookies in here, so I think it's going well. We'll make another batch. Again, it takes 3 times as long as in an oven, and you have to be very patient and you have to be adaptable. You gotta really love cooking, or sorry, baking, to really want to do this. So with our cabin kit came engineered trusses, which are basically what support the roof to make it slanted. We have a cathedral ceiling in our design, so cathedral ceiling is a little bit different than a regular home. So when you walk into a house, you have a flat roof with a roof underneath it, and then you have all sorts of things in the attic supporting the roof. When you walk into our cabin, we're envisioning, and what our design says is you walk in and you're going to see everything up to the roof. The cathedral ceilings give us access to have a loft as well, so the trusses have to be a little bit different. Clayton had to install 12 trusses per side. Again, they're engineered, so he brought them up from the granite rock into the cabin and up to the loft, and then installed them one at a time. They're 2 feet apart, so he just lifted them up there. He had to use that little table that I mentioned before to get up a little bit further. The distance from the bottom of the loft to the top of the ridge beam is about 9 feet, and he's about 5'10" or 11. So that table gives him a little bit extra height to get up to the ridge beam and nails them in individually. So again, a lot of work by himself there, until his dad got up and started to hand him some stuff up as well. So that's super handy. So after the trusses go in, eventually there's going to be plywood on top of that, and then the roof, the steel roof, would go on top of that. But we're not getting there just yet. We're still working on the skeleton. So he put those all in, and then we had to think about the overhang at the end of the roof. So the trusses just stay within the framework of the house. We need that roof overhang so the water is not running down the walls. So what that is called the ladder, or he had to build some ladders. They are not engineered. He was supplied with 2x4s to make the ladders, and so he had to make 4 of them, 1 for each side on one side and 1 for each side on the other side. So 4 in total. He brought the wood up there and built it in place. Again, a lot easier than building it on the ground and then having to carry it up there by himself, or just with the assistance of his dad. So we have the trusses in place, and then we have the ladders in place. What next is we have to actually fill in the gable ends. So the gable ends are open. So we have the log walls going up to a point, and then it gets to that triangle section. That triangle section is not filled with logs that are cut to space. That's what we're calling our gable end. Underneath the ladders, where the open triangle is, Clayton had to install 2x6 studs in order to nail the sheathing to it. So those were installed in place. So you'll often see this in log homes, that you'll have logs up to a certain degree, and then the top triangle is a different kind of material. So that's what we're working with our cabin kit. The material that's going to be used in this section is a 4x8 OSB with a 1.5-inch insulation. Numerous sheets had to be passed up from the ground to the cabin, and then again up into the loft. Next step was leveling the playing field. Well, at least leveling the ground. If you remember from our second video, our ground is not level whatsoever. We actually had to build scaffolding to both level the ground as well as raise it up all the way along the length of the cabin in order for our ladders to reach the side of the gable ends. Once Clayton and his dad had gotten the plywood up to the loft, they measured and cut the plywood to fit in sections on the outside of the gable end structuring.
Dad says he's not smiling.
Once we were finished working on the north side gable end, we moved on to the south side gable end, but first again had to start to build the scaffolding to level the ground and raise it up again. This is a good scale to see the difference in height between the tent on the left and the scaffolding platform on the right. And with that, Clayton and his dad finished the gable ends, the ladders, and the trusses for the entire cabin. With the next steps on the horizon being closing the cabin in with plywood, tar paper, and steel roof, I'm starting to get hopeful that we'll be inside before the weather changes for the worst. Until then, we'll keep indulging in the simple life of eating our food off our laps around a campfire together and waking up with the birds at 5 a.m. in the morning. This is the island life that we know.